The murder that shook the stars. The banquet hall of the Galactic Council glittered like a palace of stars, light shining from crystal walls and polished silver tables. Leaders of many species sat together, smiling politely, though their eyes carried secrets. It was supposed to be a night of peace talks, a night where fragile promises of cooperation could be sealed with wine and soft music. Among them was Ambassador Jonathan Hale, one of humanity's most respected diplomats, a man who carried Earth's voice across the galaxy. He was calm, steady, and known for his fairness. Many aliens trusted him, even if they did not trust humanity itself. He believed in words more than weapons, and his presence at the banquet showed Earth's willingness to keep peace. But peace is a fragile thing, and in the galaxy, not all hands reach for it. Somewhere in the hall, an assassin watched. Eyes cold, heart steady, waiting for the moment when shadows could drown music. Jonathan raised his glass to speak, his words echoing through the chamber. "May our future be brighter than our past," he said, his tone filled with hope. Then it happened. A sharp sound, like glass breaking, cut through the hall. The ambassador staggered, a red stain spreading across his chest. Gasps filled the air, screams rose, and guards rushed forward. But it was too late. Jonathan Hale collapsed on the shining floor, his final breath leaving him in silence. The hall erupted in chaos. Alien leaders shouted, some hiding under tables, others calling. Their guards. No one knew who fired. No one saw the assassin. Panic spread faster than fire, and in the middle of it all, the body of Earth's ambassador lay cold. News traveled across the stars within hours. Every human colony, every space station, every city on Earth saw the image of their fallen diplomat. The holoscreens repeated it again and again. Jonathan Hale, shot in the heart, blood on the council's floor. For humans, it was not only the death of a man, it was an insult to their honor. Humanity had always carried a wound in the galaxy. They were newcomers, often mocked as reckless, emotional, too quick to fight. But the murder of their diplomat was no accident. It was a challenge, a spark thrown into dry grass. At first, whispers spread. Some said it was the work of a rival species. Others claimed it was a plot by the council itself. A few even suggested humans staged it to find an excuse for war. But Earth's leaders had no doubt. Their ambassador was murdered by alien hands, and that meant blood must answer blood. In the United Earth Assembly, silence hung heavy after the report was read. Generals stood stiff, admirals clenched their fists, and civilians in the gallery cried openly. On the main screen, Jonathan Hale's final words played again. "May our future be brighter than our past." They sounded like a cruel joke now. President Miriam Voss, the leader of Earth, rose to speak. Her face was calm, but her eyes were fire. "They murdered our voice of peace," she said, each word sharp as steel. "They struck at us in the heart of the council. If they think we will bow, they are mistaken. Humanity bows to no one." The chamber shook with the roar of agreement. Every delegate, every soldier, every watching citizen knew what would come next. There would be no more patience, no more waiting for justice. If the galaxy wanted war, humanity would give them war. On alien worlds, fear began to spread. The death of one man might have meant little in the old days, but now, after centuries of survival, humans had grown strong. Their fleets were larger, their weapons sharper, their spirit unbroken. To kill their ambassador was to invite their wrath. In the streets of alien cities, traitors whispered nervously. "The humans will come," one said. "They never forget." Others laughed, dismissing it. "They are only one species among many. They cannot fight us all." Yet deep in their hearts, even the boldest knew humans were dangerous when united. Some races sent apologies, hoping to calm the storm. Others tightened their borders, preparing for invasion. The council itself tried to delay Earth, sending messages of sorrow, promising investigation. But Earth had already decided. They would not wait for answers. They would act. On the dark side of the moon, massive shipyards lit up with furious activity. Workers rushed, Engines burned. Warships awakened. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, all painted with the same flag, all pointed toward the stars. Humanity's voice had been silenced, so now their fist would speak. The First Fleet prepared to leave, captains swearing oaths of vengeance. Soldiers checked their weapons. Engineers loaded supplies. Families said tearful goodbyes. No one doubted the danger ahead, but no one hesitated either. Humanity had been insulted, and every human felt the wound as if it were their own. In the quiet of her office, President Voss signed the final order. Her voice was broadcast across every human colony. From this day forward, we fight without restraint. Let the galaxy know. If they spill one drop of our blood, we will drown them in the tide of our fury. The stars trembled that night. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized what it had awakened. Humanity was not just another race among many. They were a storm, and storms do not forgive. The murder of Jonathan Hale was not just an assassination. It was the spark of a fire that would burn across the galaxy, a fire no one could put out, and so it began. The first strike. The human fleets did not wait. Within days of the assassination, the great shipyards of Earth and Mars blazed with light. Thousands of workers labored without sleep, welding hulls, loading missiles, preparing engines. Soldiers marched in endless lines, faces hard, eyes filled with fire. Families waved goodbye at the docks, knowing some of them might never return. Humanity was moving with one will, one purpose: vengeance. The First Fleet was led by Admiral Rourke, a man who had spent his life preparing for war but had always hoped never to see it. Now he stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his flagship, and looked out at the dark sea of stars. His voice was steady when he spoke to his officers. The time for words has ended. The galaxy thinks we are weak. We will show them what it means to kill a human. The target was chosen carefully. It was not a random world nor an innocent one. Intelligence reports pointed toward the Zorath Dominion, a proud alien empire known for cruelty. Rumors whispered that the assassin had ties to their court. The Dominion laughed when accused, denying involvement, but their mocking tone only added fuel to humanity's rage. And so, the first strike would fall on them. The fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm of iron. Over 60 warships appeared above Zorath Prime, engines burning blue fire. Alien merchants screamed as their scanners filled with red warnings. Civilians panicked watching the human armada descend. For centuries, the Zorath had looked down on humanity. Now they looked up in fear. The first shots came without warning. Railguns thundered, launching metal slugs that pierced shields like paper. Missiles streaked through the void, explosions lighting up the night sky. Orbital stations shattered in minutes, their wreckage falling like fire onto the world below. The humans did not hesitate, did not pause. Every move was precise. Every strike cold and merciless on the surface of Zorath Prime. Cities shook as explosions echoed from orbit. Alien families ran through the streets, eyes wide with terror. Soldiers tried to rally, but human dropships fell like burning comets. Armored Marines stormed out, weapons glowing, voices hard. "For Hale!" they shouted, each word carrying across the battlefield. It was not just war. It was justice, Admiral. Rourke watched from orbit, face carved in stone. Reports came in. Enemy defenses collapsing, their fleets scattering. "They thought we would beg for answers," he said quietly. "Instead, we brought judgment." His officers nodded, their eyes shining with grim pride. News of the attack spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Entire sectors froze in disbelief. Many had expected humans to protest, to demand trials, to show patience. Instead, they unleashed fury faster than anyone believed possible. No debates, no warnings, only action. The message was clear. Humanity's wrath was not something to test. Some alien leaders mocked the humans still, calling them reckless, suicidal. "One fleet means nothing," they sneered. "The galaxy will crush them." But others watched more carefully. They saw the speed, the discipline, the unity of mankind. They remembered ancient stories whispered in council halls, that humans were dangerous when angered, dangerous beyond reason. On Zorath Prime, the Dominion's proud commanders sent desperate pleas for reinforcements. Their fleets rushed to defend the homeworld, but the humans were ready. Traps had been set, ambushes prepared. In the dark of space, the first true battle began. The Zorath ships were larger, older, built with alien craftsmanship. But the humans fought differently. They moved faster, struck harder, and used strange tactics. They hid mines inside debris. Fields hacked enemy signals, feigned retreats only to ambush from behind. Every trick of Earth's history, every cunning lesson from centuries of war was unleashed in the stars. Alien captains shouted in disbelief as their fleets crumbled. "They fight like no species we have faced," one said before his ship exploded in fire. Another whispered in despair, "They are not soldiers, they are predators." Back on Earth, citizens watched the live feeds in silence. They saw their fleets tearing apart alien warships, their marines raising flags on enemy soil. At first there was anger, then pride. For the first time in generations, humanity was truly united, not by hope, but by vengeance. Every man, woman, and child felt the same fire in their chest. Never again will we be mocked. Never again will we bow. When the smoke cleared above Zorath Prime, silence hung heavy in space. Human warships floated victorious, their hulls scarred but unbroken. The Dominion fleet was shattered, its proud commanders dead or captured. On the surface, alien cities smoldered, their leaders dragged before human soldiers in chains. Admiral Rourke stood at the window of his flagship, watching the burning world below. "This is only the beginning," he said. His officers did not cheer. They understood the weight of his words. Humanity had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. Across the galaxy, messages poured into the council chambers. Some begged for calm, others demanded revenge. But in every shadowed corner of the galaxy, a single question was whispered again and again. If this was their first strike, what will their second be? The stars trembled with the answer yet to come. The galaxy reacts, the destruction of Zorath. Prime sent shockwaves through the stars. For centuries, the Zorath Dominion had been feared for its cruelty, respected for its strength. And yet, in only a few days, the humans had brought them to their knees. Whole fleets shattered, proud generals humiliated, their homeworld scarred with fire. The news spread faster than light, carried on trade ships, pirate signals, and council broadcasts. Hollow screens everywhere replayed the same images. Human warships, blotting out the sky, soldiers storming alien cities, Admiral Rourke standing unshaken on his bridge. Across the galaxy, billions of alien eyes watched with disbelief, awe, and fear. In the grand hall of the Galactic Council, chaos broke out. Leaders of hundreds of worlds shouted over one another. Some slammed their fists on tables, demanding war against Earth. Others raised trembling voices warning that fighting humans would be a mistake. The chamber that once preached peace now echoed with threats and fear. Counselor Zarthun of the Valak Confederacy rose, his many eyes flashing. "This cannot be allowed. If we let humans continue, they will set the galaxy on fire," he roared, his voice shaking the chamber. But Counselor Soraya of the gentle Trilari spoke softly, her eyes downcast. "Perhaps we should not provoke them further. They have already shown their strength. If they strike again, who among us can stop them?" The hall erupted again. Some called her words cowardice. Others nodded in agreement. For the first time in living memory, the mighty council was divided not by politics or trade, but by fear of one single species. Beyond the chambers, common aliens whispered in markets and taverns. Traders leaned close, voices hushed. The humans, they fight like demons. They don't just battle armies, they destroy hearts. Soldiers of other races shook their heads, muttering that humans were reckless, that such fury could not last. But still, none denied what they had seen. A power growing. In dark corners, spies reported strange things. Shipyards on Earth and Mars working day and night, fleets multiplying at unnatural speed. Strange new weapons tested in hidden systems, whispers that humans had unlocked technology the Council had long forbidden. Every rumor, true or false, added to the fear. Some empires laughed. The Krell Dominion, ancient and arrogant, dismissed the humans as children playing at war. They won one battle, their emperor sneered, but the galaxy has crushed greater threats. The humans will burn themselves out. His court laughed with him, though in their hearts, unease stirred. Other races, smaller and weaker, saw something else. They saw hope. They had lived under the heel of the great empires for centuries, paying heavy taxes, watching their sons dragged away as slaves or soldiers. Now they watched humanity rise against the powerful, and a dangerous thought grew. If the humans can fight back, why can't we? In secret meetings, whispers became plans. Messages were sent to Earth, not of anger but of admiration, offers of alliance, of trade, of quiet support. For the first time, the balance of the galaxy began to shift. Meanwhile, within the halls of the Zorath Dominion, grief turned to rage. The surviving nobles screamed for revenge, demanding every soldier march against humanity. But their armies were broken, their fleets scattered. They were forced to beg the Council for aid, their once proud voices trembling with desperation. Admiral Rourke's name spread through the stars like fire. To humans, he was a hero, the avenger of Jonathan, Hale. To aliens, he was a monster, a storm-given flesh. Children whispered his name in fear, and alien commanders studied his tactics with trembling hands, searching for weakness. Back on Earth, the United Assembly was not blind to the galaxy's reaction. Some leaders feared what would come next. The Council will not stay divided forever, one warned. When they unite, they will turn every fleet against us. But President Voss silenced them with steel in her eyes. Then let them come. We will not kneel. The human people listened to her words and believed them. Factories pushed harder. Scientists unlocked new weapons. Shipyards expanded faster than ever. Humanity was not slowing down. They were accelerating, driven by rage, by grief, and by the strange unity that only tragedy could forge. Among alien worlds, fear turned into sleepless nights. Merchants rerouted trade to avoid human sectors. Border worlds fortified their defenses, though many whispered it would not matter. Even the pirates, bold and ruthless, avoided human shipping lanes. None wanted to test the fury of mankind, but in the shadows others plotted. Secret councils of generals and spies gathered in hidden chambers. They whispered of a grand alliance, of uniting every empire against Earth before it was too late. Plans were drawn, fleets prepared. Humanity's enemies were not sleeping. They were watching, waiting, sharpening their blades. Yet even as they planned, a question haunted them. Could the galaxy truly unite against humans? Or would fear, mistrust, and pride keep them divided? Each empire remembered its own grudges, its own rivalries. And while they hesitated, humanity built more ships, more weapons, more fire. In the council hall, Soraya of the Trilari spoke once more, her soft voice cutting through the storm. Do you not see? They are not like us. We laugh at them, we call them reckless. But they fight for something greater. They fight for each other. If one of them falls, the rest will rise, and they will not stop. Her words lingered, heavy and haunting. Many dismissed her as weak, but some felt the truth inside her voice. Humanity was no longer just another species. They were a force, a storm moving across the stars, and storms once awakened do not rest. The unstoppable advance. Humanity did not pause after Zorath Prime. They did not wait for the Council's decision or the galaxy's judgment. Their fleets moved like a storm, jumping from system to system, striking fast and hard. Wherever a Zorath banner flew, human ships appeared, and within hours it burned. Admiral Rourke stood at the center of this storm, directing with precision. His fleets did not simply attack, they dismantled. Supply lines were cut, shipyards destroyed, Communication relays silenced. Worlds that once believed themselves untouchable suddenly found human soldiers standing in their streets. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Most wars dragged on for years, sometimes centuries, with long pauses between battles. But humanity fought differently. They carried the speed of a wildfire, spreading faster than anyone could prepare. By the time one world reported an attack, the humans had already moved to the next. Alien generals tried to adapt. They sent fleets to block human advances, confident in their numbers and ancient war traditions. But humans did not fight like them. They did not line up ships in neat formations or follow predictable maneuvers. They fought with tricks, with cunning, with lessons carved from Earth's bloody history. In one battle above the moon of Torvek, the Zorath fleet waited in ambush, hidden behind the shadow of asteroids. They expected to crush the humans when they passed. But when the human fleet arrived, they did not fly straight into the trap. Instead, they detonated hidden mines inside the asteroid belt. The rocks exploded, shredding the Zorath ships before they even moved. The survivors limped away in shock, muttering that humans must see the future to fight like that. On another world, the Zorath dug deep trenches, believing ground combat would slow the invaders. But humans had studied centuries of trench wars on their own soil. They rained fire from the sky, then sent armored walkers that smashed through defenses. The battle was over before the aliens even understood what was happening. Every victory added to humanity's legend. Soldiers across the galaxy spoke of them with a mix of fear and respect. "They never stop," whispered one alien commander, staring at maps covered in red human flags. "They never tire. It is as if they fight with the strength of an entire species at once." And perhaps that was true. Humanity was united as never before. Colonies that had once argued over resources now sent ships freely. Corporations that once fought for profit now donated weapons and fuel. Even old enemies on Earth put aside grudges. The murder of their diplomat had forged something rare, a single will across billions of hearts. The Council grew desperate. They begged Earth to slow down, to stop before the galaxy fell into endless war. Messages of peace poured in, filled with apologies and promises of justice. But President Voss ignored them all. Her answer was simple. Peace ended when Hale was murdered. Do not ask us to forgive. Ask yourselves why you thought we would. In alien taverns, the whispers grew darker. Merchants told stories of human fleets that appeared without warning, of soldiers who fought like they carried the ghosts of their ancestors at their backs. "They do not fight for land or wealth," one trader said. "They fight for each other. That is why we cannot match them." But not all aliens cowered. Some powers began to see humanity as a threat greater than any rival. Secret alliances formed. Old grudges forgotten in the face of a new enemy. Fleets that once faced each other now prepared to face Earth together. The galaxy was slowly uniting, but whether they were too late, none could say. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Rourke studied his maps. His officers stood ready, awaiting the next command. "They think numbers will save them," he said, his voice quiet but sharp. "They think traditions will protect them, but they do not understand. We fight with imagination, we fight with fury, and we will not stop." His words carried weight because they were true. Humans did not just bring ships and weapons, they brought creativity. In one battle, they turned cargo freighters into warships overnight. In another, they used old satellites as decoys to lure fleets away. Every tactic was unpredictable, every strike unique. Aliens who had fought wars for centuries found themselves unprepared for a species that refused to follow the rules. As the campaign stretched on, the Zorath dominion began to collapse. Entire sectors fell silent, their leaders either fleeing or surrendering. But this was not only about Zorath anymore. Other empires watched with growing unease, realizing that if humanity could do this to one great power, they could do it too. Anyone in the shadows of the council chambers, a question burned hotter each day. Could humanity even be stopped? Some said yes, that united, the galaxy could crush them. Others shook their heads, remembering how quickly the Zorath had fallen. To fight humans, one said, was to fight fire with dry leaves. Meanwhile, on the ground of conquered worlds, a strange thing began to happen. Ordinary aliens, farmers, workers, children, looked at the human soldiers not with hatred, but with something else: respect, even admiration. For while humans struck hard against armies and governments, they often left civilians unharmed, sharing food and medicine where they could. Some aliens began to whisper that maybe, just maybe, the humans were not monsters but something far more dangerous. A people who fought with fury, yet remembered mercy. The unstoppable advance continued. World after world fell, fleet after fleet broke. And with every victory, the galaxy's fear grew. Humanity was no longer a small voice among many. They were a roar that drowned out all others, and somewhere deep in the council chambers, the elders realized the truth they had denied for too long. The galaxy was changing. Humanity was not just at war. Humanity was rising, and the stars would never be the same. The broken alliances. The galaxy had always been a web of alliances, pacts, and fragile promises. Empires smiled at each other in the council hall but sharpened, knives in the shadows. For centuries that balance had kept wars contained. But humanity's rise broke the web apart. At first, many believed the great powers would unite. The Zorath Dominion, humiliated and shattered, cried for revenge. Their allies swore loyalty and promised fleets. Other empires, alarmed by Earth's fury, pledged support to the Council's cause. On the surface, it looked like unity was forming. But beneath the words, cracks spread quickly. For some empires, humanity's wrath was terrifying, but also convenient. Old enemies of the Zorath watched them fall and smiled. Rivals who had once feared the Dominion's armies now saw an opportunity. "Why waste our fleets to save them?" one alien ruler whispered. "Let the humans finish the work we always dreamed of." In hidden chambers, secret messages traveled. Promises of neutrality were exchanged. "We will not aid the Council," some declared quietly. "But in return, Earth must spare our borders." Humanity listened, and humanity remembered. Admiral Rourke knew this game well. He had studied history, both human and alien. "They will not stand together," he told his captains. "Greed will divide them, fear will blind them, we will use both." His fleets pressed on, forcing the galaxy to choose: stand with Earth or stand in its way. The Council's grand alliance began to crumble before it even formed. Some empires sent fleets half-heartedly, holding back their strongest ships. Others delayed, promising help soon, while secretly fortifying their own worlds. And some betrayed outright, passing intelligence to humans in exchange for protection. On one Council world, a captured Zorath commander shouted in rage as his supposed allies abandoned him. "Cowards," he screamed, "you leave us to die." The human officer guarding him only replied coldly, "They know what we already showed you. Standing against us is death." Even among the Council's inner circle, mistrust spread like poison. Accusations flew. "You warned the humans. You held back your fleet. You secretly profit from their war." Fights broke out in the chambers, and old rivalries resurfaced. The Council, once a symbol of order, became a nest of suspicion. Meanwhile, humanity pressed its advantage. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Rourke watched as intercepted alien messages revealed betrayal after betrayal. His officers laughed grimly. "They destroy themselves for us," one said. Rourke only nodded. "Good. Let them weaken each. Other. We will strike the ones who remain." But even as alliances broke, some races saw only one path: submission. Entire worlds sent envoys to Earth begging to be spared. Some offered resources, others offered soldiers. "We do not wish to fight you," one alien leader said, trembling before human representatives. "Give us mercy and we will serve." Earth accepted some of these offers, not out of trust but out of calculation. New supplies, new intelligence, new allies, tools to fuel their advance. Yet even as they took these gifts, the humans never forgot. "Today they serve," President Voss said, "but tomorrow if we weaken, they will betray. So we must never weaken." On alien battlefields, the cracks became visible. Fleets sent to reinforce each other arrived late, or not at all. Armies retreated instead of holding the line. Soldiers deserted, unwilling to die for leaders who argued while humans advanced. Every failure gave humanity another victory, another step forward. One night in the council hall, Counselor Soraya of the Trilari spoke again. Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. You see now what I warned. The humans do not break. It is us who break. You call them reckless, but it is our fear and greed that shatter us. And every day we delay, their power grows. Some shouted at her, calling her a traitor, a coward. But others fell silent, unable to deny her words. The truth was clear. The galaxy was not united. It was fractured, bleeding, feeding its own weakness into humanity's strength. On Earth, the people knew this too. They saw alien alliances crumble and cheered. They watched their fleets return victorious again and again. Factories pushed harder. Colonies stood taller. The once fragile species of man had become unstoppable, not only because of strength, but because their enemies could not stand together. Still, whispers of danger remained. In the shadows of the council, a few determined leaders swore oaths. If we do not unite now, we will all be slaves to mankind, one said. They began secret preparations, plans for a massive coalition fleet, larger than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. But for now, unity was only a dream. The reality was betrayal, fear, and broken promises. And humanity thrived in that chaos. Admiral Rourke looked at the maps of conquered sectors. Red marks spread wider each day. The galaxy thought itself strong, he said. But strength, without unity, is weakness. We will keep advancing until even their strongest bow. And as his fleets moved once more, one truth echoed across the stars. The galaxy had hoped to fight humanity as one. Instead, they were crumbling apart, and every broken alliance cleared the path for Earth's unstoppable rise. The price of vengeance. The council fleets were broken, their banners burned in the void. The last stand that was meant to stop humanity had ended in silence and drifting wreckage. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy looked at its center of power and saw only ruins. Humanity had won, but victory carried shadows. On Earth, cheers filled the streets. Screens lit up with images of human warships triumphant, alien dreadnoughts shattered, and council worlds humbled. Crowds shouted Admiral Rourke's name, calling him a hero, a savior. Families who had lost sons and daughters wept with both grief and pride. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, and Earth stood tall, but behind the pride was the weight of loss. Thousands of soldiers never returned. Whole fleets were scarred, many ships drifting back half destroyed. In hospitals across Earth and Mars, wounded veterans lay in silence, their eyes still haunted by fire and void. Children asked when their fathers would come home, and mothers gave no answer. Humanity had won, yes, but at a terrible cost. In the quiet of her office, President Miriam Voss looked at the casualty reports. The numbers were endless, names filling page after page. Her hand trembled slightly as she signed the final orders of recognition for the fallen. She had promised justice, and she had delivered. But as she stared at the list, she whispered to herself, how much more justice can we afford? Across the galaxy, fear took root. Empires that once mocked humans now sent envoys with bowed heads, offering apologies and gifts. Some begged for treaties, others offered tribute. A few dared to whisper of revenge, but none acted. The memory of the council's last stand was too fresh, too heavy. In alien taverns, merchants spoke in hushed tones. Do not cross the humans, one said, shaking his head. They will drown you in fire. Another whispered. They fight like demons, but they heal like people. They spared civilians, even as they crushed armies. That is why they are more dangerous than any empire before. Not all aliens saw humanity as monsters. Some, especially the weak and oppressed, looked at them with new eyes. They saw a species that fought for each other, that rose in fury when one of their own was killed. To them, humanity became a symbol, not of destruction, but of hope. If humans could rise, perhaps others could too. Admiral Rourke returned to Earth as a hero, but his heart was heavy. On the bridge of the Resolute, he had watched too many of his soldiers fall, too many ships vanish in fire. When he walked through the streets, people cheered, but he saw only the faces of those he could not save. "They call this victory," he said quietly to a fellow officer. "But every victory is written in blood." The galaxy was changed forever. The Council no longer held power. Its surviving members were scattered, their voices weak. Where once their word was law, now silence filled their halls. In their place stood humanity, not by election or choice, but by strength. No one dared to deny it. Earth was now the dominant power in the stars. But with power came questions. What would humanity do now? Would they continue the war, burning every empire that had stood against them? Or would they stop, holding the galaxy in fear but not in ruin? In the assembly, debates raged. Some called for peace, arguing that the point had been proven, that vengeance had been served. Others demanded more, saying the galaxy would never truly respect humans until all threats were destroyed. President Voss stood before them, her voice calm but sharp. "We have shown the stars that we do not kneel. We have shown them the price of spilling human blood. But we must remember, we fight not to conquer but to protect. If we forget this, we will become the very monsters we swore to fight." Her words carried across every colony, every fleet. Some agreed, some grumbled, but all listened. Because no matter what they thought, they knew humanity now carried the fate of the galaxy in its hands. For the aliens, the lesson was carved deep. Dozens of worlds that once ignored Earth now turned toward it, their leaders whispering to their people, "Do not provoke them. Do not touch them. If you harm one, you face them all." The story of Ambassador Jonathan Hale's assassination had become legend. It was no longer just the tale of one man's death. It was the spark that lit a fire across the stars. A fire that proved one truth. Humanity did not forgive, humanity did not forget. And yet within the fire there was still mercy. On conquered worlds, human soldiers shared food with starving children, rebuilt hospitals, and treated civilians with respect. To many, this was the most frightening truth of all, that humans could destroy empires but still remember kindness. A storm with a heart, a blade that cut but could also heal. The war was over, but its shadow would last for generations. The galaxy would remember the fleets of Earth, the fury of mankind, the Council's fall. Children would grow up whispering the same warning: "Do not provoke the humans. Their vengeance has no restraint." And so among the stars a new age began. Not the age of the Council, not the age of the Dominion, the age of humanity.